was the father-son relationship with Jonathan and Clark. Talk to me about working and cultivating that relationship with John Schneider.
Well, it was actually really cool because I knew who John was from growing up with Dukes of Hazzard. But it wasn't until the second and third season, he really did take me under his wing because I really didn't know what he was doing. And that whole hand on the shoulder thing, that was actually John talking to Tom a lot of times. And I remember it's season 2, season 3, he goes, I used to be on a television show myself. And I'm like, yeah, Dukes of Hazzard. He's like, you know that? I'm like, yeah. He goes, why didn't you say anything? He's like, I've been too nervous. But he really tried to help me and protect me and guide me. And I think that carried over to the Clark thing because it could have been really easy for Clark to be like, I'm not listening to you. But it really just didn't feel like the right dynamic. So he's great. I still love seeing him. I love the guy.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but growing up, you weren't the biggest Superman fan, correct?
I mean, I watched the Chris movies.
Sure.
I mean, when people say Superman, that's what I think of. But I wasn't a comic book guy or any of that, so I think that helped me playing Clark because Clark didn't know who he was going to be.
Well, the only reason I mentioned that is because now you're a dad. Talk to me about how your relationship with Clark and Superman has evolved after becoming a dad and letting the dust settle after Smallville.
I don't think I could play that naive anymore. If you know what I mean, that'd been like real acting. No, I think I appreciate the Jonathan Clark relationship probably more than I did at the time.
Sure.
No, it's really great. I mean, my boys think I'm Superman, so that's all I need.
That's incredible. Yeah, I was listening to your podcast, and you said that your sons like dressing up as superheroes for Halloween and stuff, and they won't. When you ask them, why won't you put on Superman?
No, they don't have one.
They don't have one.
They never asked for a Superman costume, and I asked he was 5 at the time. I said, why not? And he goes, because he's taken. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you're Superman. So they have Batman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, you name it. They have too many, to be honest. When they start going through looking for stuff, I don't know if anybody has kids, everything they touch just goes behind them as they look for something else. You know what I mean? And it's just covered. But yeah, I'm just going a little bit with that. It's fun.
You did Smallville for 10 years, and it's really rare now that shows go on for 10 seasons, especially at 20 plus episodes a season. Production-wise, you guys also changed the game because now it's a lot safer because you guys were doing 16-hour days. Is that correct?
Oh, if we were lucky.
Lucky, really?
Oh yeah. There were times where I would do 14 hours on one set, drive an hour, and do 6 hours on another one. And I think that's all. Actually because of social media, and because it used to be you had to pick up a phone to call someone to complain, and then that person had to call somebody else to complain. Now you can just post the complaint, and a lot of other people see it, so you can't get away with it so much anymore, that sort of thing.
Oh, we got DK here! For each of you, how did you prepare for the role mentally, and what was the most challenging aspect of getting into the character's head? And we'll start with you, George.
Pardon?
We'll start with you, George.
We'll start with me. I'm way over here. I can barely hear it. No, let's see. I didn't want to think about it too much because it would have freaked me out. Strongest guy in the superhero universe. I thought of my older brother who was an Eagle Scout and is now an orthopedic surgeon. So I sort of thought, what would my brother sound like? And that's where I went. I didn't want to complicate things. So.
Tyler?
I kind of always thought like to give him a little bit of an like imposter syndrome. I think everybody kind of experiences that in a certain way. So yeah, he can do all these things, but there's still, I mean, he is an alien living amongst humans. So there's still like that element of imposter in a way that you kind of have to deal with. So that kind of like humbled him for me and made him very relatable in the sense of I was almost almost embarrassed of being Superman. Yeah, like the idea of the names. We actually in the flashback episode, we had the line where she says, you know, how did you know this was happening? I said, oh, my hearing. And at first I said my super hearing. And I asked our showrunner, I'm like, can we just say my hearing? And then she says, hearing? And I go, well, my super hearing. That's just kind of an aside. And then so when I leave at the end of that scene, they go, who was that? She goes, that's Superman. So she kind of gives the name. And so we kind of playing with that a little bit. It was like, it grounded him for me and made it more relatable, so.
Tim?
Can I tell a slightly off-color story?
Absolutely, you can. That's what we're here for, man.
See where Harry goes.
I sort of, modeled things, or I could not get out of my mind Christopher Reeve, because he was my Superman.
Same here.
Al Roker. Remember Al Roker?
Of course.
Al Roker came to interview me when I was doing the show, and this woman who was interviewing me said, Al was interviewing me, sorry, and he said, so what is it like doing the voice of Superman? And I said, well, it's interesting because he's always getting smashed, with stuff, girders and trains, and electrocuted and laser beam and all this stuff. And I said, so the majority of my work is actually a lot of grunting, straining, screaming, and yelling noises. And I said, come to think of it, it's a little disconcerting to think that the children of America have a pretty good idea what I sound like in bed.
Or the bathroom.
Better you said that in the bathroom.
The woman from Warner Brothers who was there was like, cut. And they sent me very nice letters asking me to please desist from saying things like that.
Brandon, I'm sorry you had to hear that.
Oh, my. I'm over it now. And you're not wrong. Because it's a thought that goes through my head sometimes. About me? It's kind of a public forum to admit that, what was the question?
Yes, the question was the responsibility of fan expectations. How did you prepare for the role mentally to get to Superman 10? And Clark 10.
There's no short answer to that. But I trusted in that I was given the job and the opportunity, and the way it came to me was very much I kind of saw what was happening and felt like I was making it happen at the time, and maybe in some way it was. And so I was continually preparing myself for it through the 7-8 month process of getting cast, and Chris always was who I modeled the character after before it was the script that it was. Back when it was another version of the script, and the same core and the same heart, so I felt that, I guess, strongly enough that I trusted in whatever that was that I couldn't put to words. The energy that Chris, that I received from him in the role, and went with that as best I could, and then just tried to learn about the world as a 25-year-old.
How about you, Dean?
You were 25?
Yeah.
I was 26. Right?
Yeah.
I was terrified. It was terrifying for me because when Christopher Reeve, as Tim mentioned, and Brandon, it was my Superman 100%. I grew up with him and watching him fly. When I heard they were going to do a television version of it, I was terrified. Like, this is going to suck, right? They won't be able to do anything. We won't have the effects. This is going to be awful. This is before all of these other superhero shows have been on, so it's been a long time since there'd been something like that on television. And the last one was George Reeve's version, and I didn't want to make that one as much at that current day. But I like his Clark Kent. So fortunately for my version, the version that we had, Deborah Jordan created a great situation where it was about Lois and Clark and a different thing. And I was able to just sort of hide myself in that script because it's way too much to think you're going to be playing Superman. I mean, I got the job and then I went skiing like 2 days later with my buddy. We had already a trip planned. We're going up the lift, you know, it's quiet, the snow's falling. And he just looks at me and goes, dude, for the rest of your life, someone's going to call you Superman. What does that feel like? And I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. You can never know until you're thrown into the fire. And obviously all of us have experienced that, but it's pretty amazing. It's something when people are like, does it bother you? People call you Superman? I'm like, are you kidding? I've been called a lot worse. And I was like, in a heartbeat. So I'm honored to be up here with these guys and honored to be able to play the character.
Yeah, it's a dream come true for me. Believe me. And
For me, to be honest, it's pretty quick. When they finally let me read the script after signing an NDA, I realized that this was not a show about Superman, it was a show about Clark Kent. And I've said this story before, but I had actually written into my contract that I wouldn't put on the suit because I wanted to stay Clark. And I wanted to tell that story, so I was able to just not think of it. Clark didn't know who he was going to be, and I didn't know what I was doing, so it was kind of great. Yeah. And it was probably episode 5. They wrote something where Clark puts a suit on, and it was a business affairs call. Like, we're not doing it. And I think if Clark would have put the suit on in the first 3 seasons, we'd have never gone 10.
I completely agree with you.
We kind of had to do that, and you know, I meet some people who come to the table and they're dressed, and I'm like, how come you didn't want to put the suit on? And I hate breaking the heart being like, I never wanted to. But apparently they're tight. Yeah. And they don't breathe well. Tyler, I think that was your big one thing you would change, right? You mentioned that?
The suit doesn't breathe well?
It's great. we did one of these a couple weeks ago. They said, what's the one thing you change about your character? And you're like, the fit of the suit? Yeah, that's all I was referring to. Sorry.
It's easier to fight in sweats, that's all I'm saying.
Dean,
You don't feel as powerful.
Dean, the New Adventures of Lois and Clark really heavily focused on the relationship with Clark and Lois. Can you talk about your version of Clark and how you wanted to make him stand out compared to previous iterations of the character?
Well, I grew up with Christopher Reeve being my Superman, and I love that. But as Clark Kent, I was like, come on, don't be the nerdy guy, you know, be more like a Clark should be, which was more like the way George Reeves played Clark Kent, if any of you remember that one. And I liked it. He was cool, he was doing his thing, and Clark really was the character for Lois and Clark, too. And Superman was a disguise that he put on that his mom made for him, you better believe it, which was so cool, it was so much fun to do. And I also love the fact that he had his father with him. That was a big part of our show that didn't exist in a lot of Superman lore. It was great to have the parents teaching him and having him go through that process. What was the question?
You pretty much answered it. We're good.
I answered it?
You did. You absolutely did.
6 out of 10?
6 out of 10.
All right. That's fast.
Brandon, you had mentioned earlier that your iteration, especially your movie Superman Returns, is a sequel to Superman 2 that many people see, and your iteration of Clark was really based on Chris Reeve. Can you talk about emulating Chris, but also still making the role completely your own?
Yeah, absolutely. I was tasked with transitioning the character from Chris playing the character to me in a similar, pretty much the same story, but I have a different face, so it's a different guy. But continuing the same vibe and the fact that.
Although you do look pretty similar, I'm just gonna say.
Well, also we look
Throw it
similar.
out there.
And sometimes sounds similar. And that helps. Yeah, so, but again, read like rule number 1 or whatever, which is, I was always going to be like Chris, even if it was some other, it would be some other version of that slightly altered Superman, because I wasn't playing Chris, I wasn't playing Superman. You're playing the feeling, the love when you're Superman. I mean, I didn't know what that was when I was 25. When I reprised my role when I was 40, that helped because I had been a father and I had understood a lot more things about life. And I felt more worthy of myself and more worthy of myself in the role, and able to be a better conduit and tell the archetype and the story of hero and Superman. And that continues to grow. So anyway, I had that spark then, and that's where Clark came out of. The only conscious shift I thought I had about Clark was I didn't want him to necessarily just be bumbling and be clumsy. Like, I had to figure out a reason why he's like that. He's not putting on an act, it's because he's excited to human. He's a human. He's very excited. Listen, I'm a human who didn't human that much until he moved out to college and then moved out to LA. Like, I lived a kind of quiet life. And so it's fun to human, as long as we do it safely and with love. So that just means interact with the world and be a part of it and see how cool we all are.
Are you guys down to play a fun little game we have set up?
Sure.
All right, maybe. It's pretty easy. So it's called Pixelated Showdown. In Pixelated Showdown, you'll guess the iconic scene from your show as they sharpen from blurry to clear. The audience can shout out hints, so you guys are involved as well. And once it's revealed, hopefully you guys can share some fun memories. You guys down?
I'm down, but it's going to be tough on Tom. He had 10 seasons.
It's going to be really tough on you, Tom.
Are you watching this?
So it's up here, and Brandon, we can start with you if you want to. There's a screen up here, and that's. You have a fun story about because this was a promo photo, right? That you did. All right.
It's like a dude to me.
That's my head. That's interesting. That's for sure.
That's my headshot. That's my cinemax.
Let's get the shirt off, yeah.
Can we get that a little bit more clear? Oh, and we get it clear. Brandon knew what it was. So was this the first time you put the suit on for like promo?
No. The first time it was in public.
Oh.
And I had this big, blue cape, cloth thing that I'd have to wear around Fox Studios Australia.
There he is. I think it's a little harder if I have you guys to see this. Let's go to our second one. The second one? We have the second one. Okay.
Well, that's me.
Oh,
I'll tell you that right now. I can see the Asian eyes.
Look at that shit.
There they are. Well, that was a promo. That was a promo photo early on.
Do you have any fun stories about this promo photo and wearing this suit in particular?
I was terrified to put the suit on because I was terrified because they brought me this one-piece of Lycra. And they said, put it on. And I had a little space, go to the bathroom, and I was like, this doesn't feel super. And then we got, Brandon's throwing this card key around. Everybody wants to go to Brandon's room later. And then we got the little red undies, and that was helping in this. And even that, then we had the boots, the cape even on. But without the S, I felt naked. I got the S, so that was it. So it worked out. But yeah, it was an odd thing. We changed the cape year to year, but by year 2.5, we had that down.
Was your cape heavy?
It was pretty heavy, but they kind of came over the shoulders and around the back. And for any of you that have capes out there, exactly. It's a whole Megillah. So
It's another character.
it is another character. And then Terry Hazard had to go be naked with the cape on, sell all those photos. It sold more than I did. So I tried it and it didn't sell as bad.
Let's go to our next one. This is gonna be hard, right? It's 1 out of 2. Let's get it a little clearer.
It's too cleanly shaven to be Tyler.
I'm feeling this.
A little bit more clear.
There it is. There it is.
There it is, Tim.
Justice League Superman.
There it is. Tim, I remember being so excited. Batman the Animated Series was so good, and when they had Superman, I flipped out. Can you talk about when you were first cast, the audition process for the role?
When I was first cast, it was a total mistake. I mean, I was doing a TV show called Wings. And Arlene Sorkin was married to one of our executive producers, a guy named Chris Lloyd, who went on to create, Modern Family, and she was a great writer. Anyway,
Nice mid-range jump shot.
Arlene walked up to me one day and said, "Hey, would you be interested in auditioning for the voice of Superman?" And I said, "I don't know, sure." So I went to the studio and I met Arlene. I met Andrea Romano, and I tried to do some Superman voice. And she said, "No, calm down, Buster. Just do it regular." And I did it, and they said, "You're hired." And I was like, "What?" I had no idea what was in store. And to my shame, I didn't quite understand what an archetypal character Superman was and how meaningful he was to so many people. I thought that I was doing something fun for a bunch of kids on Saturday morning. I didn't really realize that Superman had become part of the collective consciousness almost. So it was a responsibility that I don't think take quite seriously enough at the time. But I had a great time, and my Superman outfit was like my jammies. Because it was just my voice. I didn't have to shave, I didn't have to be all handsome like these guys. I could just go like George and Muir, just show up.
We have a face for radio, right?
You didn't wear the suit at home?
I could have done it at home, but Andrea was so wonderful, and the most fun was when the whole cast was there. When I got to work with Kevin Conroy, all the folks who came and did little parts on the series was just great. So that's the story.
Incredible. Let's go to our next one. Let's see what we got.
That's the last, before when Clark opens up his shirt. Yeah. Because there's no...
The only time they got you in it, isn't it?
Let's get a little clear. Yeah, that's definitely.
It was only a t-shirt. They didn't even build me a full suit. Oh yeah, they were like, we very much storyboarded this shot on purpose, and the crane was going to come in, and I would run up to the crane, and the crane was going to stop, and I was going to stop, and if we didn't, we'd crash into each other. And the wardrobe people were like, "So you're not going to see the full suit?" Like, yeah, we're like, well then why are we going to build a whole suit? I mean, they've got to be thousands of dollars. And so it ended up being some version, and not necessarily a crop top.
Kind of a onesie though, just
Pretty sure there weren't sleeves. Just what you see. And then that was it.
Pro tip cosplayers, if you want to do Clark Kent, do the little ones with no sleeves.
Yeah.
I have a question actually about this suit, because you were handed a suit from Jonathan Kent when you were Superman and fly up. Was that a real suit?
I think, I'm sorry, I don't remember. No. Probably no. I don't know if they may have said that they took it from one of the other movie sets. Maybe.
That's similar to mine, so it might have been, yeah. I don't know.
There might have been.
Interesting. All right, let's move on to the next one, which... Tyler, yet?
That's going to be tough.
That, I'm not sure what that.
By the way, just so you know, from now on, in my mind, it's a crop top forever.
Yeah, Tyler, you had a lot of different iterations of the suit. There was a black suit you ended up wearing. There was, obviously, Zorro. You had the original Fleischer suit. Talk to me about your relationship with the suit, wearing it for 4 years, and how it got more comfortable over time.
Yeah, we did a lot of different versions of it. The Supergirl one, so the Supergirl one that we had written initially was really just built for me to be there as a guest star. It was really going to be 2 episodes, and that was really it. So when we decided we were going to do a standalone series, it was not built to withstand that. The cape was made of actual, real, heavy leather. So it was 12 to 15 pounds just dry, and then anytime it would be wet, it was 30, because it just hold all the water. So we got rid of that. That was a good first step. And then, they just wanted, each season they wanted to creatively do something to evolve the suit and give us something new to play with. So they took that as an opportunity design-wise for functionality and for style to just continue to change it up. Honestly, the Fleischer suit was my favorite one to wear, just because it's from that comic, which is awesome. And I got to do it just a couple times in the flashback scenes and everything. So that was my favorite one to wear. It was a little bit more nostalgic.
You got to create that iconic Superman pose from Superman #1, which is awesome. Actually, you kind of got created too with that Mustang. in your film as well.
It's not cool to suit though.
I have a quick question. When you were on the show, were there like suit days where that was the day they were shooting everything in the suit, or would they have you go in and out of it?
We would try to do that. We would try, but eventually we had to do things too, where like we'd be in it for a certain amount of time, and then we'd have to get out of there for a while. Just because like stunt days and stuff, doing like it looks great when it's on mannequin, but like reaching across, like your left wrist is pulling on your right ankle. So it's just like stuff's like a full day of stunt. Like let's take a break, pause, put a little bit of water, and then go reset. So yeah.
I think we got one more. I think we know who it's going to be. It's George.
I don't know. I thought it was
Yeah, it's definitely George. Looks just like him.
It looks like a Lego.
Standing by the Green Lantern.
Mario Kart?
Mario, yeah. George, I think that Justice League Unlimited is. Justice League Unlimited, I think even now is one of the best told Justice League stories and DC stories just told across the board. Were you able to record your lines with your fellow cast members?
Yeah, but that was incredible. We after Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, they brought in such incredible people. Mark Hamill and Rip Torn of all people. It's like just the list was sort of endless. John Rhys Davies. I wish I had the whole list in front of me, but every day we would go in there and be like, we get to do this.
Ed Asner, yeah.
Oh, yeah, incredible. Ed Asner, that's right.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It was incredible.
So we have a few What's that?
About the Superman suits. I don't know if this is common knowledge, but I knew Chris Reeve a little bit. I dropped something. It's a name.
So did I. I worked with Chris. Did a movie with Chris.
And Chris told me that the original Superman suit that he wore was a disaster. Like like he could break out in these terrible rashes. It was really horrible for him, and they had to, put salve on it or something like that. Anyway, I thought that was common knowledge, maybe, but that's what he told me.
Speaking of Chris Reeve and Tom, I wanted to ask you, because you got the torch passed to you by Chris Reeve himself when he played Dr. Virgil Swan. Can you talk about, his work ethic on set, what you learned from him just as a performer, and just being in the presence of him on that show?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously considering the circumstances of his condition, we got there and the plan was to shoot 4 hours and get his side of 2 scenes, and then he would leave, and then I would do my side with someone else. And we did the first scene, and then they said, okay, we're going to do the next scene. He goes, well, what about Tom? I mean, obviously he didn't point. I mean, that's not a bad joke. Right, sorry. I'm not making fun of it, because one thing he didn't do is let you make. You didn't feel sorry for him at all. He was actually telling jokes the whole time. We had a riot. He was cracking up. But he was like, no, I'm not leaving. And long story short, it got to a point about 8 hours into the day, and they turned around filming my scenes with him. And his nurse with power of attorney was like, if you don't come with me in 15 minutes, I'm calling the police. Because she could. But he had to leave, and he looked at me and he goes, they're always telling me what to do. And then we just had a really great banter. I had a lot of fun with him, and it was so cool that the scene was this brilliant scientist who knew more than Clark and was downloading Clark this information, and here I was with this brilliant man being downloaded with so much information. But I walked away from it wanting to be a better person, that's for sure.
It's absolutely great.
Yeah.
I gotta ask, because I'm on stage and never get this opportunity, Superman, trunks or no trunks? What says you?
My 6-year-old just asked me that the other day why is his underwear outside. It was, I didn't know what to say.
Well, trunks for sure.
Trunks for sure.
Trunks.
A little modesty is important.
Because it looks better. Thong.
You go along with those Superman noises you were making up to.
And his jammies.